As most of my viewers probably know, Ta-Nehisi Coates took a shot at Jordan Peterson in a recent Captain America comic. This was meant as an epic diss, turning Peterson into the Red Skull, a literal Nazi, but it's backfired. Not only did most normal people find the comparison insane, but Peterson himself made the best of it by retweeting memes of the Red Skull using his sayings, and even making merch with this logo some guy created of a lobster hydra symbol. I think the lobster thing is an inside joke with Peterson, but I don't remember from where. Doesn't matter though. He's making the best of a bad situation, and I think it's great that his sense of humor is still intact. He's basically embraced the Kermit the Frog thing, and this is even better because it completely takes the piss out of Coates and his groupies. Nicely done. Not so nicely done, however, is Ta-Nehisi Coates' run on Captain America and Black Panther. Perch just did a video about both books. I'll link to it down below. It's really worth the watch because he goes in depth into the numbers. The gist of it is that Coates managed to tank both series to an embarrassing degree virtually from the start. Cap dropped 84% from his first issue, from 167,000 to 27,000, and Black Panther dropped 95% from 253,000 to 14,000. These books drop faster than Uncle Bad Touch's draws at a Girl Scout convention. The only other person who can tank books faster is Kelly Sue DeConnick. When you want to cancel a book, you don't cancel it. You just hire her, and it'll cancel itself. So the question is, what happened with Coates? Why did his books fail? I think there are 3 reasons. Marvel's marketing practices, a non-existent audience, and Coates himself. Perch mentioned the first one in his video. Marvel has a habit of relaunching books to boost their numbers. You see this in the Black Panther graph. It was relaunched in the middle of his run. This was the Black Panther in Space arc. Again, I can hear you rolling your eyes. And you can see it had a sizable spike in the orders before dropping right back down to where it was before. You may also notice that the cover for the relaunch is nearly identical to the original cover for Coates' run. I don't think this was an accident, and I suspect it played a role in the orders because at first glance it would make people think this was a reprint. But even if that wasn't the case, the constant relaunching is a trick Marvel has used for over a decade to boost sales. And like Perch said in his video, Marvel usually stops promoting the books once the first issue comes out. The obvious result is that people forget about the title, and the same probably goes for Marvel. It's only when the numbers get embarrassingly low or they just want to boost them that they'll promote the book again by relaunching it. Gone are the days of just promoting a new creative team or a new art. Now they slap a new #1 on the title, ignoring that readers have watched Marvel do this for years and know what's up, which is why you see these massive drop-offs. There's usually some drop-off from issue 1 to issue 2, but it's supposed to be around 40% at the highest, not 40% at the lowest. They're killing their own titles, and that drives away the audience. Of course, they're also trying to appeal to an audience that isn't there. That was part of their reason for hiring Coates. Marvel assumed his audience would come with him to comics. Never mind that the people who read Coates' propaganda would never say the word comic book, let alone actually read one. Hell, Coates probably doesn't read comics. Now that I think about it, I can't think of a single example of someone being famous outside of comics, bringing their audience with them when they started writing or drawing comics. If anyone has an example, let me know. But this also goes for the so-called diverse audience that supposedly demanded more representation in comics. None of these people show up to buy comics. You don't have to take my word for it. Just look at Coates' numbers. This woke audience clamoring for comics doesn't exist. They don't read comics. They're not interested in these so-called diverse books. They just like the idea of them. They just want to be able to go on social media and talk about it. We saw this with their response to Jordan Peterson talking about what Coates did. Plenty of people said, now I want to check out Captain America. The book's been around for 2 years. Supposedly y'all fans of Coates. How come you ain't buying his books? Could it be that you're not actually comic book fans? That you're actually virtue signaling? It's amazing when you think about it because the Black Panther movie got tons of hype, but none of that translated into big sales for the comics. The numbers continued to plummet except for when Marvel renumbered and relaunched the book. Now, clearly some people are buying the books, and some of them may be Coates sycophants, but I bet most of them are just regular comic book readers. Coming off the movie's hype, you'd think actual comic book readers would buy the books, but no. And I think that has everything to do with Coates himself. Ta-Nehisi Coates is a divisive figure. I think of him as nothing but a more coherent Michael Eric Dyson, just another race baiter exploiting white guilt to make money. I think he's a true believer. He probably believes some, if not most, of what he says and writes, but he also knows he's playing the game, and so do many comic book readers. How many comic book fans want to buy books written by a guy who likely hates most of them since most of them are white? This is what hurt Reginald Hudlin's run. His racist attitudes were all over the book from the first issue. How many readers saw that and went, never again? Now add in that Coates is a mediocre writer. Yeah, he's got a vocabulary, but storytelling, especially world building, isn't his thing. He's really bad at it, especially connecting the threads together to make something interesting and cohesive. That probably turned off a bunch of readers, which would explain the massive drop-off from issue 1 to 2, and the massive drop-off from the first trade to the second trade. And by the time he wound up on the Cap book, he wanted Spider-Man, but that went to Nick Spencer. I think it was too late. The moment they saw Coates was a writer, many fans probably dipped out, and the people who did give him a chance bounced once they saw the anti-American angle in the first book. I think Coates' failed runs prove that playing politics and alienating fans doesn't sell books. Trying to pander to an audience that doesn't exist doesn't sell books. And constantly relaunching titles to boost sales instead of actually promoting them consistently doesn't sell books. But what do I know? I'm just some guy.